This is the Reindeer Tools Dasher, a cordless mini chainsaw with an 8-inch bar. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on it, keep watching. Before we focus in on the Dasher, let's first take a look at what else came with the chainsaw. I'll put that aside. So this is the hard-sided case that everything came in. It's up to the task and exactly what you want it to do. Inside, of course, a few things you would expect to see. One is the manual. There are a pair of gloves. They are considered a safety glove. They're not Kevlar, though. They're just a cotton glove with a kind of a rubber coating on them. Sufficient? Well, okay. I would sooner use a pair of heavy leather gloves, but these are better than nothing, of course. You'll also get 2 of these 20-volt lithium-ion batteries. I have one mounted on the saw right now. And to charge those batteries up, you do get a standalone charger. That's much better than some of the saws that I've tested where all you get is a plug and a wire that you have to plug into each of the batteries. I like this much more so. It came with 2 chains. One is installed on the bar, and the other one here in this bag. And that's everything you get. Now, as far as key features for the Reindeer Tools Dasher, it has a couple of things going for it. To start with, the motor is brushless, and that is, of course, should add to the durability. It will run at 5,800 RPM, and the chain speed is 8 meters per second. Now, it has a couple of other features. One is it has a built-in chainsaw bar oil reservoir, which will hold about 60 milliliters. I think that's a little over 2 ounces. But it is the pump style. Now, the pump style works. My only issue with the little pump style, you can see the little plastic pump button here. It will work mostly in the summertime. It doesn't work as well in the wintertime because that seems to get a lot harder to push on. Having said that, though, it does work. You just have to work at it a little bit more so. It does have a nice guard around your hand. I like this bar piece here. It's wider than most, and what I found is laying this down on a log or something else, it was less likely to tip over, so that was a good feature. It does have the safety button on one side before you press the trigger on it, so it's kind of a safety lockout as well. It does have it's not really, well, okay, it doesn't have a brake like a larger chainsaw has, but what it does have is this guard that will move as you move through the wood. So if for any reason this did buck back at you, at least you have that protection from the chain itself. Really cool feature. It helps not only with installation, but makes it much easier to get the tension on it, is this mechanism right here. So you would loosen off the outer bar, tighten up the red knob until you get the tension you want on the chain, and then lock it down with this black bar again. Works fairly well. Now, there are a couple things that seem to be missing from this, which I would really like to have, which is a chain guard in general. Something to protect your backpack, because this is small enough to drop in your backpack. Something to protect the backpack from the chain. Now, I think most people will probably carry it in the case, so that may not be much of an issue for most people. But where I go hiking, I'm using this for firewood. I will drop this into its own bag that I can throw over my shoulder. But I did make up just a little bit of a plastic thing to go over the outside of this just to keep the chain from ripping that bag all to pieces. I definitely would not carry this in my backpack without something covering that chain up. Overall, it's nice, well balanced, as you can see. Now, there is one thing that I found, and you'll see this in the demonstrations when we get out. Look at the bar itself. The bar is kind of not narrow, that's not the word I want to use, not very tall from top to bottom, and it does taper out towards the tip. Now, I'm not a chainsaw expert, but I did look up a little bit about that feature, and you find that mostly on power chainsaws that are intended for carving, so that the tip will allow for more fine control in carving and plunge cuts a little bit better. Now, for me, that doesn't mean a whole lot, because this, for me, is not a carving tool. It's going to be for firewood prep, things that I find just to make my job a little easier over a handsaw. But what I did find is that it has a little bit of a tendency to stall up a little bit in harder woods. And you'll see that happen when you see me cutting some oak for the outside demonstration. Overall, that wasn't an issue. It's just something to be aware of, because all I had to do was withdraw the tool, start it up again, and go back into the wood. Other types of wood, mostly maple and spruce and pine, no problems, no issues whatsoever. I did find it missed one feature that are not often found on small saws, but are found on larger saws. I don't know what the technical term for it is, but it's like a little grabber right here with teeth, which allows you to plunge into the wood and then use that for something to lever the saw off of. It seemed to be, it would have been a little bit better had it been on there. It just would have grabbed some of the larger pieces of wood a little bit more so that I wouldn't have to keep pressing down. I could just kind of lever it forward, if I'm saying that correctly. Okay, that's everything I want to say about the saw before we get it outside. Let's go out there, cut a few pieces of wood, come back, and I'll close this video out. Some closing thoughts for the Reindeer Tools Dasher 8-inch bar cordless mini chainsaw. And again, they do come with a 6-inch bar if you'd prefer that. So this is the fourth of the cordless mini chainsaws that I've reviewed over the last couple of years. The first two were 6-inch versions. The latest one before this was a 12-inch version. And now I chose the 8-inch version specifically to be somewhere in the middle. And I wanted to find out if it had characteristics of both in cutting it. And I would say yes, it does. To date, obviously, the 12-inch is much more capable. You can do more work with it, but the 6-inch ones, well, they're not a lot more compact than this. You go between 6 and 8-inch, you might as well go with the 8-inch because you can cut just a little bit more or larger pieces of wood with it. Now, unlike a gas-powered chainsaw, this is your power right here. You don't have extra fuel unless you take an extra battery. So I'm glad that they included 2 batteries with this chainsaw that provides pretty much all the power I'm ever going to need on any one day, on probably most camping trips for that matter. Now, as far as performance goes, it worked well enough. It worked more like my 6-inch chainsaws than it did my 12-inch. The 12-inch is considerably more powerful, which is what you would expect from a larger chainsaw as well. I like the fact that it had the 8-inch bar on it, allowing me to cut larger pieces of wood. But to be honest, I didn't really take advantage of the 8-inch chainsaw. I was still cutting things that were about the size I could have cut with the 6-inch. So I just put that out there. The 8-inch really doesn't come into its own until you've got pieces of wood probably 6 inches, maybe even 7 inches in diameter. Most of the stuff that I'm cutting is 4 or 5 inches, so I didn't really take advantage of the extended bar. Having said that, you never know when you are going to want to cut something a little bit bigger, and then you take advantage of that 8-inch bar. Now, the chain guard on top, yeah, great feature. It's a little unnerving when you're pushing the chainsaw through and you see this rising instead of the whole thing going through. You get used to that very quickly. It's just a different feature. It's different than a brake. It kind of serves the same function. The chainsaw itself will shut off, as it did for me. You saw it when I was cutting that 5-inch piece of oak. So it does have all the protections in it you want in a small chainsaw. So it doesn't have any readouts. Well, I shouldn't say that. It does have a readout on the battery. So you can check the power level here by pressing, and that's going to give you where you are in terms of your battery status. And they do seem to hold their power for a long time. The only thing I'd recommend is that if you're not using it, now I don't say this while you're out, but if you're storing this, take the battery off so there's no parasitic drain into the device. Either that, or before you go out, make sure you put it back on the charger just to top it off and have all the power that the battery is capable of holding. Overall impressions are it's capable, it is small, it is compact, it is lightweight, it is not heavy duty, but it's up to the task of most small firewood cutting. What else can you ask from it? Okay, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment section below. I'll put the links to where you can take another look at the Reindeer Tools Dasher in the video description. But until next time, get out and explore and take that path. Let's travel, because it will make all the difference. Bye for now.